So these first two movements of Brahms's Opus 104 are taken from the same poem by Rückert, a stanza from the beginning and a stanza from the end, but as you can see, clearly divided over two pieces and quite different in character. Rückert, one of the towering figures of Romantic German poetry and very, very often set by the main figures of lieder writing, Schubert, famously in Du bist die Ruhe, a lot of Schumann and Brahms and many others. The difference in personality and character and quality of mood of these first two pieces can be characterised by the word zitternd, trembling of the first movement, and then the confidence and the Getrost, if you like, of the second movement, a much more a mood of positivity and looking forwards, and one of actually the few moments in this cycle of hope and of positivity. Let's take it. Although, of course, the music of the bleak stuff is possibly more heartbreaking and more achingly beautiful. Let's get into the music, and then we can start getting into the text and start working on some of the details. Could I ask you, for want of perhaps a better way of not repeating ourselves, just to sing it through once? We'll do the first movement, we'll talk about it, then we'll do the second movement, we'll talk about that. To No, 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 which is, I know what we did last week. We'll do it once just to remind ourselves roughly how it goes. Here's your first chord. So, 3 and 4. Okay, straight back into the beginning, thanks. So let's just talk a little bit about what we're singing about. It's leise Töne, die Brusttöne is tone, sounds, leise is gentle, and die Brust, breast, heart. Geweckt, weckt from waking, waking up, woken by Odem is the breath, der Liebe, of love. So it's this sort of trembling, hesitant, the trembling actually comes in the next line of text, but it's this sort of breathing motion of the heart, which is feeling tender, which is feeling longing, and it's got this wonderful gesture harmonically in these undulating first two chords. course, same thing in the basses and tenors. And it's got to have that wonderful breathing sense. So the first note is stronger than the second one. We have that sense of pairing, so that we decay into the second one, and then we lean into the third beat of the bar, and we come away in the fourth beat of the bar. Just sing that, please, altos and altos. When I say altos and altos, I mean, of course, the second and third lines. Just sing that. Add the text, please. Leise Töne der Brust. 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, shum. Good, and of course the phrasing goes on to the word Brust, heart, but it's that swaying motion I'd like you to get into the way you sing those undulating chords. Same thing, basses please, bass 1 and bass 2, really feeling that ebbing and flowing, the breath of love. Leise Töne, straight away with the text, bass 1, 2, 3, and 4. And just as I asked the altos, go towards the word Brust, heart there, yeah? Good, add everyone there please, so sopranos and tenors, join us please, as we're doing now with the text please. You sort of sit over that swaying gesture with a total still quality to you, yeah? 3 and 4. Stop. I just wanted to join those two phrases together. It's a course in dialogue between the melody of the sopranos and the melody of the tenors. So try and match your phrasing somewhat, keeping that lovely sostenuto quality down the scale. Töne der Brust, towards the breast there. Can I ask you to be quite clean about the end of the word Brust, so the T is on the second beat of the bar, very much. Leise Töne der Brust, Brust. So the T is on the beat and the S is just a little bit before. Sing that sopranos and tenors, yeah? 3 and firstly sopranos, go. Tenors. I wasn't very helpful there, but hopefully that planted the seed that you have to think about putting the T on that second beat, and the S lightly, very precisely, st before the T. Good. Second phrase, if you like, geweckt von Orden der Liebe. We'll talk about the text, we'll integrate to work on the text in our work. Don't sing it too loudly, yeah? It starts pianissimo. You see a big high phrase, you see an ascending phrase with a crescendo, and you think immediately it's start this loud and it's get louder. Not at all. You've got to really keep the lid on that, so that it's the same dynamic pianissimo at the beginning of the word weckt as you had at the beginning of the word Liebe, at the beginning of the piece. Just sing that please, firstly sopranos. Try and find a lovely open space, geweckt, on your own, 3 and 4. Good, and we don't cut off Liebe, that applies also to the altos. Don't listen to that tenors and basses, we'll talk about you in bar 5 shortly. Notice the phrase must go towards Liebe, with that yearning L. It's a lovely word to sing in English and in German, because of that expressive L at the beginning of it. So sort of disregard the diminuendo until the end of bar 3, and actually bring up the volume towards the word Liebe. So you have crescendo, decrescendo, crescendo. Yeah? Geweckt von Orden der Liebe. And of course a decrescendo at the end as well. At the altos, sopranos, altos, geweckt, to remind you, pianissimo. Same quality, trembling, fragility at the beginning. And 3 and 4. Yeah, okay. Just notice you, who are you? Alto 2s. Your first D at the beginning of bar 4. You're under the tenors, and you're sort of more in line with the harmony and the chord, well, the harmony, but the chord of the basses. Yeah, so just actually really bring that D out a little bit more on Liebe. Yeah? Same thing please now from the tenors and basses. You can also start pianissimo. Don't up the dynamic because you've heard the sopranos and altos open their sound out. keep it pianissimo at the beginning, yeah? And the same thing towards the word Liebe. Tenors and basses, geweckt. And 3 and 4. Excuse the wrong notes there. Do it one more time, yeah? And 3 and 4. Good, and we'll take a tiny bit of time, contrary to what we did at the beginning of 4 for the sopranos and altos, tenors and basses, the beginning of 5 will slightly pull the tempo, a little bit of allegando, and imagine please that you're carrying on with the hauchet that's sung by the altos in regards to how you end the word Liebe. So, dem der Liebe, hauchet, excuse me. So it really isn't Liebe, hauchet. I'd like to have a tiny bit of silence in between the Liebe. If you're trying to work out what to mark in, actually just write a quaver. And within that slowing down on Li and Be, it will sound just how I rather florally described it. Sing it again, please. Thanks. The upbeats bar 4, tenors and basses. And 3 and 4. 1 and 2, off. That's it, yeah? So 1 and 2, dun, dun. Just sing Liebe and go. Liebe. You won't get a cut off there, you won't get any fancy pants twirling of the wrist from my part. You just got to organise it yourself so that you really sing Be of Liebe on a quaver, as a quaver only, yeah? Same place, Liebe, and go. Liebe, hauchet, yeah? Let's join all this together. The beginning, please, everyone. Put the L on the note. That applies to the first entry, of course, most especially, because it's very exposed, but it also applies to the entrance of the tenors and basses. But not lie. Of course you wouldn't dare. And 3 and 4. Stop you there mid-flow, excuse me, it's difficult with all of these linked entries to find a clean place to stop and start. Good, this next bit, titant, as I said, is for me the emblematic word of this piece. Trembling, hauchet is another way of saying sort of breath or breathe on or blow, so it's the trembling breath coming out, hinaus. And then ob sich euch öffnen ein Ohr. It's a wonderful word, that Ohr. It's closed with a diphthong. Yeah, it's 2 vowels. Ohr, O-H-R. And it's whether you open, öffnen, ein Ohr, ein Ear, an ear, or öffne ein liebendes Herz. Open a liebendes, loving Herz. The heart, yeah? We've talked about Brustossi, which is another way of saying breast, chest, same, it's the same thing, really, for all intents and purposes. At this moment, I just have to clarify one thing. Some of you may be using a Peters edition of this piece. There are 2 main editions: the Breitkopf, which is the one that has been shared with you, and the Peters edition. The Peters edition has a different version of the text at bar 9 and 10, and we don't want to do that. So do trust what you have in the score which has been shared, the Breitkopf, which is öffnen ein Ohr, öffnen, not anything else. Before you perhaps confuse this, there are two versions of this word. Öffnen at bar 9 and 10, and then at the end of bar 10 and into bar 11 and 12, it's öffne, öffne. Yeah, it's about whether it's öffnen or öffne, and it's exactly as written. It can be both, and Rückert himself I'm going to be all nerdy, but in his 1846 and 1886 editions, had that difference and had the version which is corroborated by Breitkopf. I'm speaking too much, let's do some more singing. Hauche zitternd hinaus. Yeah, straight into, altos. We're in bar 5 after 2. 1 and 2. Good. I think that is a good place to pause. I'm just going to say in advance, I have a tendency to, when playing, to play slightly faster than I would conduct with a choir. That was a great example, that was too fast. So perhaps have it in your mind that it's going to be a little bit more stretched out. Difficult to know how to interpret these staccato with slurs over them, especially with all the text that happens here. I'd like it to be something like this. I'm going to do it slowly. Hauchet zitternd hinaus. Yeah? Why don't you all sing that with the melody of the altos on an E? So, Hauchet zitternd hinaus, sorry. And 2, and go. Good, so it's hinaus, not hinaus. Hinaus, joined please there. And the ch of hauchet, it comes at the beginning of the F sharp, or the beginning of the second note. It's not hauchet, yeah, I think that's obvious, but in case it isn't, hauchet, yeah? But we do need to, however, have the end of hauchet before the beginning of zitternd, right? So, sorry, spent too long in France. So it's not hauchet zitternd. I'm going to demonstrate one more time, or try at least slightly faster. Hauchet zitternd hinaus. And the crescendo really is especially in the word, the first syllable of hinaus. One more time, singing it with the altos after 2. 1 and 2. Hauchet zitternd hinaus. And turn that diphthong at the end of aus across the duration of the second note. So aus, and this comes exactly and quite precisely, quite neatly on the crotchet rest that follows. Aus. Yeah? Good. Let's sing it upper voices first now, with the voices as written. Firstly second altos, then first altos, then sopranos. Yeah? After 2, it comes your entry, the second altos. 1 and 2. Yeah, so really work on that. Aus. The reason that I want that S to be so precisely on that beat, and it applies 2 bars later, end of bar 8, 7, I should say, tenors basis, is because I want it to exactly line up with the T of zitternd. So you get aus. I can't actually do them both at the same time because it's not possible, but and it's exactly concurrent, so it really sounds nice and clean. Otherwise it can sound a bit which is not the effect. Really work on those nice out of sync crescendi. So turn hinaus is a beat displaced from the hinaus of sopranos and alto ones. The same thing, interestingly, I've never noticed that, doesn't apply for the tenors and basses. I'd like you to add that in. I'm going to